Hey guys, it's Mr. Walker here, and welcome to another fantabulous math lesson. The goal for today is that we are going to be dividing decimals by multiples of 10. Okay, so we've done multiplying decimals by multiples of 10, but today we're going to be dividing decimals by multiples of 10. And yes, you heard right, we are dividing decimals. What? Sound guy, we don't have any music for dividing decimals? No songs with decimals in it? Huh, that's a bummer. Well, doesn't mean we can't still jam out and get down to division of some decimals today, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to be seeing how some of the concepts that we've learned in previous modules, as far as when we multiply by 10, what happens on the place value chart. When we divide by 10, what happens on the place value chart. We're going to see how we can apply those same things to what we're doing here when we're dividing decimals, okay? And it might seem a little intimidating, a little tricky at first, but trust me, it's not. We're going to cruise through this pretty quickly today. So you only need a few things today: something to write on, something to write with, whether it's a personal whiteboard or paper or whatever you have. And then if you have a place value chart, the millions through the thousandths, right? Because we're going into decimals, so the thousandths. If you have that place value chart still, you can get that out. If not, there should be another one available to download in the module for today. So you can have that out and have it ready. And once you have those things ready to go, click continue, and we'll keep cruising along. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with an example in just a second. But I know one thing's probably bothering you guys, and it's that I got a hat on, right? Well, something really unfortunate happened to me the other day. Miss Walker, I guess, was trying out some new shampoo stuff, and it dyed my hair like a really bright purple. So I didn't want you guys to have to stare at that and be distracted the whole time because it's really kind of you wanna see it? You really want it? I mean, it's pretty hideous. It's really gonna. All right, lean in close. Make sure there's no little kids in the room. I don't want to scare anybody. All right, you ready? Here we go. Okay, yeah, right. And so, it's scary, right? So I'll keep the hat on, that way nobody gets freaked out. But we're going to go through some examples together. So if you have that place value disk, have it out ready to go. I'm sorry, if you have that place value chart, have it out and ready to go. If you do have place value disks, though, and you want to grab those out, you can. They're not vital to this. I'm going to be modeling them here virtually, so you can kind of get the idea and see what's going on behind the scenes. But you don't need them if you don't have them. You can definitely draw in some circles or just kind of watch along and follow along with me. So let's go ahead and get started with an example here. So we're going to start by taking a look at this one, which is just 54 divided by 10. Now, not super hard to do right off the bat because we know about the relationship between the place value chart and the places on the and positions on the place value chart and dividing or multiplying by 10. For example, if I bring this chart up here so we could take a look at it, if we move numbers this way on the place value chart, we're multiplying by 10, right? They're going to get bigger. We're going to get bigger numbers. So if I was multiplying 54 times 10, well, I would really just be taking that 54 and moving it up, okay, which would cause it to be 540, and you kind of get the idea. But today we're going to be talking about division and how that changes what goes on with the numbers. So right off the bat, right away, like just kind of visualizing this or using what we already know, using that prior knowledge, if I have 54, right, and I am dividing by 10, we know we're going to be moving this way on the place value chart. So our 54 is going to be moving this way. So it's going to actually turn to 5.4, 5 and 4 tenths, right? But let's see why that is. Let's see what's happening. So what I'm going to start by doing is I'm going to model the number 54 with my place value disks, right? So I'm going to draw out or drag out 5 tens. All right, awesome. And then 4 ones, right? And that would make the number 54. Now we know when we divide by 10, everything's going to move down a place value, okay? So without the help of our chart here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invoke a little bit of magic, right? We don't have a ton of money for special effects here at eSchool, so just kind of bear with me. This is my magic divide by 10 line, okay? So anything that crosses this line is automatically divided by 10 and moved down to the next place value, okay? So I'm going to start by grabbing these 5 tens right here, and I'm going to move them over here. And as soon as I move them across that line, presto changeo, they have turned to 5 ones, right? Because they moved down a place value. 5 tens move down to 5 ones. Easy enough. Let's go ahead and grab my 5 ones here. I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and grab my 4 ones here. I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 ones. I'm going to move them across that magic divide by 10 line. And let's see what happens to them. They're going to move down to the next place value. What do you think that next place value is if we move down a place value? Well, let's just see. That's right, they have turned to tenths. Now I have 4 tenths. So now I have 5 ones, 4/10. So my answer would be 5 and 4/10. Easy enough. They changed as soon as they crossed that line and went to the next place value. So you're kind of getting the idea. Nothing too terrible, nothing too hard, but it just kind of helps to model like what's actually going on behind the scenes, right? So again, if we think of this, number 54 is having the decimal point here. When we divide by 10, it's going to move back one place because there's 1 0. We're going to move it back one place, which is why it ends up here. Just another way to look at it. But right now we're mainly concentrating on like the place value side of things and what's happening and why the numbers work out that way. All right, let's take a look at another example. Since you guys are so super smart, let's step up our game a bit here. What if I gave you 54 hundredths and we were dividing that by 10? What do you think that would look like? So 54 hundredths, let's go ahead and model that on your place value chart. Go ahead and draw out what that would look like as far as place value discs goes. And I'm going to create it here, and then we'll compare what we have. All right, so I modeled my number of 54 hundredths, right? It's going to be 5/10, 4 hundredths, okay? Easy enough, 5/10, 4 hundredths. Now I'm going to divide both of those by 10 to see what we end up with, okay? So I'm going to grab my 5/10 here, bring it across that magic divide by 10 line, and presto changeo, my 5/10 have turned into 5 hundredths. I'm going to do the same thing now with my 4 hundredths that I have left over here. We grab them, we'll drag them across that divide by 10 line, and I am left with 4 thousandths now. So that whole number got smaller by one place value, okay? My tenths became hundredths, my hundredths became thousandths. So now I have to do 5 hundredths, 4 thousandths. So my 54 hundredths became 54 thousandths. So you're kind of getting the idea on how dividing by 10 just moves everything down to place value, right? Not a super hard concept. I think you guys can figure this out. So let's take a look at just one more example and see if we can apply this in some other ways. All right, so now I have 54 divided by 90, and 90 is not 10, okay, but it's a multiple of 10. So we can still apply some of the same things we know to help us make this division problem possible. And just looking at this, you know, if we were setting up the traditional way here, right, just to kind of backstep for a second, I would have 54 divided by 90. And looking at this, can I take 5 tens and make groups of 90? No, I can't. Can I take 54 ones and make groups of 90? I can't, right? So I know I'm going to end up with a decimal, right? I know I'm going to end up with a small number because of what they're asking me to do. They're asking me to take a smaller number and divide it by a bigger number, okay? So we know that we're going to end up with a decimal. But we could still do it. We could still figure it out. It's not bad. So what I'm going to do is I want to think in terms of multiples of 10, okay? And can I take this 90 and turn it into 10 times something, right? So I can still get that 10 out of it, kind of like break it down, right? So yeah, I could totally do that. I can take this 90 and kind of decompose it, right, into a 10 and a 9, right? So that means I could do 54 divided by 10. So 54 divided by 10, like we had done in the previous examples here, that's going to give me 5 and 4/10. Am I done? Is that my answer? No, now I have to divide by 9. So I got to take that 5.4 and I have to divide it by 9. Right, and this we could do, but we have to think of this 5 and 4/10. We're going to think of it as 54/10 instead. So 54/10 divided by 9. So we basically multiplied it by 10 to get it back to 54/10, and then we can divide now. So 54 divided by 9 is going to be 6. But since we multiplied by 10 to move the place value, the decimal this way, we got to divide it by 10 to move the place value back. So it's going to be 6/10. So 54 divided by 90 equals 6/10. All right, and again, just to do that decimal part again, because that gets a little bit confusing, I moved the decimal one place this way just to get it out of the way, to make it easier, so I could see this as 54 divided by 9. Once I got that answer, I had to move the decimal back one spot to put it back where it needs to be, because I can't just move it willy-nilly. I could do it for a second to help me divide, then I got to put it back in order to make sure that my answer is correct. All right, I'm going to ask you guys a question real quick. Would it matter if I would have done it this way instead, if I would have done divided by 9 first and then divided by 10. Would that have mattered? Well, let's see. 54 divided by 9 would be 6, and 6 divided by 10 would be 6/10. Doesn't really matter, right? So I could have done that in any order. That's because of the commutative property. We can move these things around if we need to. The associative property, we can group and put those parentheses wherever we need to in order to make it make sense, okay? So whether you're dividing by 10 and just moving everything in place value backwards, or you're dividing by a multiple of 10 like we did here for 90 and we just split it into a 10 and then whatever the whole number was. Division of decimals here isn't too terrible. It's something we could definitely figure out. It's going to either involve moving the decimal point on its own, or maybe having to break apart a number first and then moving a decimal point afterwards. If you feel like you need some more examples of this, please let me know. There's other resources we could definitely get a hold of to figure these things out together. But if you need any more help, need any more assistance, reach out to me, reach out to your learning guide, reach out to a teacher, reach out to somebody. Let us know what you need. We'll definitely get you guys the help that you need. And I thank you guys for hanging in there with me and watching some division of decimals. And I'm going to go find a decimal division song that I can jam out to, because there's got to be one somewhere. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate all the hard work you do, and we'll talk to you soon.